Alrighty, hi students. This is not going to be a very long video because in this video I just want to discuss the executive summary, which is one of the shorter sections of this project. The executive summary is essentially the introduction for the project as a whole, so it doesn't need to be super long. It really only needs to be one paragraph, more if you need space. If you have a project which is kind of like a two-part project, maybe you're doing a survey and a website, or an experiment and a workshop, then your executive summary might be a little bit longer, but for most of you, you're going to want to keep it within the length of a paragraph. So the executive summary is really just like a fancy way of saying introduction. It's summarizing everything that the entire project consists of. So the project description is different from the executive summary because the project description is not talking about the grant proposal request letter or why you chose to direct it to whoever you chose to direct it to. The project description is not necessarily mentioning the budget or the methodology. It might mention the methodology a little bit briefly, but not too much detail. However, in the executive summary, you're overviewing all the different components. So you're talking about who you chose for the grant request letter, summarizing what you said in it. You're talking a little bit about the project description, giving an overview of what your project actually consists of, the different parts of it, in whatever order you would be actuating it. It's briefly overviewing methodology. It's briefly overviewing the budget. It can briefly discuss a visual aid if you have one, how you made it, why you think that it adds to your project, and it's giving just a short little summary of the timeline as well. So every component of your project in that order, the executive summary is going to mention. So the executive summary is the first thing that someone would read after the grant proposal request letter. So the grant proposal request letter is your project being like, hey, hello, this is who we are, this is why we deserve this funding. And then the executive summary is more introductory and is like, this is what actually is in this packet, step by step. Here are all the different things that we included and why we chose to include them. So whoever's doing the executive summary, I recommend writing this part last or second to last so that you can look through the project and see how everything turned out, see what you all decided to include, and then sum up each little part in a sentence or two for each section. You might be able to do it, in a shorter format. But I find it easier to do the executive summary last so that you have a complete view of the project. Then you can write up your introductory section and then just input it after the proposal request letter and then before the project description or whatever you have lined up to go next. So the order for this project matters somewhat. Certain parts are flexible. The project description and the methodology can be swapped depending on what you think is more important. Visual aid probably shouldn't come first, but it can come after the project description. It can come after the methodology. If you've done a survey and you have a design for that, you probably want to link that with the visual aid. But the executive summary is fixed in terms of order. It does need to come towards the beginning after the request letter. So if you're doing the executive summary, just keep in mind it doesn't have to be super long, but you probably want to write it last and you want to make sure that it's doing that introductory work for your project.